So after about 100 feet of constant outpouring of the aquifer, it meets, as many springs do, the grand, unforgettable Suwannee River of Georgia. It originates in Georgia, Okefenokee Swamp. There's a beach. It's pretty nice. As you can see, you can literally see where the spring water meets the dark water. Dark doesn't mean necessarily polluted. You can have clear polluted water. You can have dark, very fresh, clean water. Yeah. Of course, this is the only river seasonally you can reliably sight sturgeon. There's some gators from what I hear. It's not renowned for gators being a swift, majorly spring-fed, lots of major tributaries, 3 major river tributaries that are respectable river basins in their own right. Actually, this is above Santa Fe confluence, which really makes it a broad, very full of water river. But even above the Santa Fe confluence here in the middle, Suwannee is still a very impressive river, and this is not the highest it gets, clearly. You can kind of tell, still high banks, but the banks drop and the river widens the further south you go. And I've kayaked around the mouth of the Suwannee, and I'll have to make a video about that. Definitely a trip I want to do again, going down the West Pass, across the Nature Coast, and up the East Pass. Is it crazy to do solo on a kayak? I don't know. I know you definitely want to look up the weather conditions and the tides before doing that long trip. Long loop around Hog Island. Very beautiful, man. Anybody wants to see a major river, especially in Florida, very unspoiled overall. I can just walk around along the beach here. There's definitely been other people here. Yeah. Never been to the Suwannee River, you're definitely missing out. Here there's some nice rivers in the Panhandle too. But either not as major as the Suwannee or not as unspoiled as the Suwannee. Not that it's a contest or anything, but tripping over some rocks here. See how rocky it is. Find me a Megalodon ancestor tooth. No, I bought a few. Ooh, tree roots. So either has the river risen this much? It probably has. Because you hear about the historic flooding, how much is flooded in the past. It's a very flashy river. It can go up. You see some of the houses along the lower Suwannee River. It can rise like in a few days, tens of feet, and flood the streets, flood the houses. That's Mother Nature for you. You don't put up the dams, you don't put up the levees, which is good for the river. Makes more floodplain, as rivers naturally should. Oh yeah, love this river, man. I was here fairly recently, but I think this view is even better than the view at Royal Springs and Lafayette Blue Spring, even though those springs are still more remote feeling than this spring. But, yeah, I don't know what is causing that these cavities to form, or whatever you call it. It can't be fish. Why would the fish dig into the rock? Might be the acidic river water? I don't know. I know some people still scuba dive in the river for fossils. I think they're crazy. I wouldn't do it solo, at least. Especially not during floodwater in the river is really trucking. I think this is mostly wind right now, maybe a few 100 feet across. I would definitely not jump in there without weights or a buddy or something. Yeah, if you look closely at these rocks, you might even find an oyster or seashell. And you think, what the heck is something like that doing fossilized all the way far inland? Of course, the Suwannee River used to be a seaway, while you find a shark, dugong, and other marine fossils. Sea boas. Yeah, Florida used to host those. That's deserving of its own video, slideshow, tribute, whatever you want to do with it. Yeah, this is all marine. In most parts of the state, this type of rock is buried beneath hundreds of feet of sediment and other rocks. Up here, the Suwannee River has cut through to it, or something. Because of course, most rivers in Florida are not that old, despite what they look like, because Florida sea level fluctuates a bunch over tens of thousands of years. Yeah. I know this very favorite river for people to boat in, speed down. But, I usually visit during the week, so can't complain too much. You know, the time I went to the St. Johns River, which is about just as broad, except the current in the St. Johns goes way slower. It has some tributaries, not as big as the Suwannee River, and a few, there's a jumping mullet, a few springs. But of course, over 300 plus miles, it only drops like 30 feet. So yeah, super gradual slope compared to the Suwannee. But I guess there's other major rivers in Florida, or the USA, that resemble the Suwannee, but they don't have as many springs. And they have major cities. The Suwannee River doesn't have any major cities, thank goodness. In large part because of big shoals, the big rapids formation in the upper Suwannee, near a little bit northeast of Live Oak. And they were thinking about making the capital of Florida down up near the mouth of the Suwannee, except they got lost. They were in a rush. They're like, ah, screw it, we'll just make the capital up there near Apalachicola River. So, yeah. It still has environmental impacts, especially by agriculture, don't get me wrong. But, overall, even not too far away from this river. Visit many a time and go find new stuff all the time, as with most rivers, but especially this river. I know some people love to kayak the whole thing. I don't know if I'll ever do that, but just have to accumulate the time off and or have the motivation or something. I don't know, I'm in no hurry. It's getting pretty cold right now with the wind. The sun was out. That's the thing with Florida. In the winter especially, the sun coming out helps a bunch. Why is there no more jumping mullet? I don't know. You can see how the acidic water kind of cuts through it, I suppose. Dissolves it, forms the springs and yeah, dark water. I saw one big garfish when the first time I kayaked in the lower Suwannee, from Log Landing to Hart Springs, which was the first time I ever saw jumping sturgeon. Right now you won't find any, even in the winter. They're all down in the Gulf feeding. They mostly don't feed at all, or not very much, at least when they come up the rivers in the springs, summer, and early fall, from what I hear. I don't see any fish. I saw one big bass on the lower Santa Fe River when I kayaked that. Yeah, you're typically not going to see any fish unless there's like a major drought. Then the rivers can become very clear, so I hear. And or if they jump out of the water like mullet fish and sturgeon. But yeah, river 235 miles long from Georgia to the Big Bend. Ooh, another mullet fish. Comes any closer, I might take him home for dinner. No, I don't have any place to put it. I still have half of a sub, so I'm good. I'm good for now. Very natural, bendy, dark river. I love it.